I welcome to anyone who may be listening. If anyone is listening out there, this is Audio Boy SE, and I am your humble host, No One. What's Audio Boy SE, if you may ask? Well, consider it some sort of audio blog where I can just go ahead and talk about certain subject matters that may be important to me, or to deal with a certain type of rant that may let things go out of my chest, such as last week's episode. Speaking of which, I know the subject matter was done in a very heavy-handed, depressed fashion, but it was needed because it was something that was sort of nagging at my chest for a while. Sadly, there's going to be a lot more episodes like that in the future. But for today, let's do something a little bit more positive, something a little bit more upbeat, with a little bit more energy. What's that something to be? Well, I was thinking that there's a very popular trading card game having a new phone app out recently. And since this sort of links to the anime culture, I decided yes, it actually would be a perfect time to talk about a wonderful children's card game. But not just any children's card game, the epitome of what we considered as the children's card game. You guys know what I'm talking about, so let's talk about the wonderful magic that is the card game Yu-Gi-Oh! We're going to have a little bit of disclaimer before we begin this subject. And the only reason why for disclaimer is there happens to be very loyal, hardcore fan bases to when it comes to collectible card games. And people tend to throw at each other when it comes to this. And well, no matter what I'm talking about, this does not mean that other card games are better or worse than what I'm talking about. Because every card game has the right to have its fan base. But just because you like something better doesn't mean you're going to insult something else, and I will block your comments. As you can see, I do allow comments, even some that have more about a critique towards me. That's fine. That actually allows us to grow. But if you start bashing each other, not going to fly. So let's stop dragging on this and let's talk about what Yu-Gi-Oh is. Yu-Gi-Oh has a very interesting way to show what a card game actually is. Unlike other card games at the time, except for Pokemon, there wasn't a show for a card game. And actually, I think the show came out first. Yes, I bet there probably was a plan after the alleged Season 0 to actually make the card game into a thing. But a piece of me starts to think about how the difference between Season 1 and Season 2 turned out to be. I could bet $1 billion they had no idea how the card game really worked and just winged it. And by winging it, they were able to make the actual card game come to life, which is to the card game that we have today. But let's again talk about the show. My first experience with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very peculiar one, because it was right around the time when Dragon Ball Z was ending its US run, and everything was pretty much known. Goku defeated Boo, Goku found Oob, about to go off and train Oob for the next defender, because Gohan, being Gohan, can't do squat. I was always thinking and wondering, and I guess I was kind of correct, what will be the show that takes its place? Ironically, it wasn't Yu-Gi-Oh! It was more maybe Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece becoming that part of the great holy shonen trinity. The holy shonen trinity that if you make fun of it, you will get more fan bases to attack you. I could really hate fandom sometimes. Back to the point. The point was I was thinking, what would be the great shonen? And I remember that a couple of my cousins got a certain VHS tape in the mail, and it was the introductory first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! The artwork looked so bad. The artwork still looks so bad. And one of the sad parts, now that I look at it or think about it, that's probably one of the charms of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show over many other collectible card game shows, that this style, not at its best, not by a long shot, but did stand out, and it still popped and resonated with a lot of the younger viewers and some of the older viewers like me. So we decided to give the tape a watch. And it wasn't the best, but it was still kind of cool. It was, I guess, a different type of shonen show. Because believe it or not, yes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a shonen battle manga. But instead of using intergalactic, mega awesome super beams that shoot planets at each other, and using the secret technique from the 1,000-year master to make this ultimate punch, they were just playing a card game. And like the great little Karibo says, all Yu-Gi-Oh! is a show about two people yelling at each other. That's very true. The show in its battle essence was essentially just like two kids of the playground going, well, my dad can beat up your dad. Nah, my dad can beat up your dad. Then in the very end of the TV show, someone's soul goes to the Purple Realm, or the Shadow Realm. Essentially, that's what it was. But yet, for some strange, weird reason, the show touches people. And sadly, yes, I was one of those people that was touched. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a weird rap of being about ranty friendship speeches. Lots and lots of ranty friendship speeches, and works in a world that is nothing like ours. But that didn't matter. I think a piece of it, that's the reason why we enjoyed it. We secretly enjoy the little speeches about friendship. When Taya goes on for 30 minutes about how friendship is awesome and how we need to be friends. Oh, what? Find shiny friendship, going to use shiny friendship, friends. And I think the reason why it works is because we, in the USA, tend to not like teamwork as much. Now, we do value teamwork to an extent, a very little extent. But usually when it comes to corporations, sports, and even a little bit of school itself, we like to overvalue the one, the ace, the one person, the person that gets all the glory, the Seto Kaibas of the world in a way. And that's a little bit toxic. If you don't believe me, just look at the mobile community or even some sports communities and then come back to me and put some comments below. Let's get back to the point. What Yu-Gi-Oh! Does, it shows that we as a people, or even maybe as a species, can grow and learn and team together. And the show essentially is the friendship between a little boy and an ancient Egyptian artifact, or the ancient spirit inside that artifact, and how they both kind of grew off each other and helped each other. And not only just each other, how they affected the lives around everyone and how the lives around everyone affected them. So essentially the show is in a little mysterious way of a person becoming better and using a dark magician to fight the blue eyes white dragon. Oh, Bob, I love anime sometimes for just moments like these. Now, what would be the favorite season? I think my favorite season will probably be the final first run of Yu-Gi-Oh! With Bakura, because, oh man, him and Pegasus are my villains. I know there's a lot of Merrick fanboys and fangirls out there, but there's just a charm to that sophisticated camp that only they had. And remember, they're psychological villains. So take that as you will, because you guys should know by listening to my comments how I love a psychological villain. And also, what I liked about their decks is the show shows that everyone has a very interesting, unique set of cards with an interesting, unique strategy. And each of the strategies, yes, does evolve over time. So you can say that as they change as human beings, so does the cards that they use change as human beings. Symbolism. were interesting, those decks. Like most Yu-Gi-Oh decks nowadays usually is of the one Doom strategy, and that's it. It's the one move. But with the TV show, they were, like I said, a reflection. So Bakura was a very mysterious, hidden person with these hidden injectives that took 300 episodes to really make his final move. But he was a mastermind. So of course the monsters he used weren't just, I'm gonna kick your butt. No. They were deceptive and quiet and sort of eerie. He was more passive aggressive. Him saying, go ahead, attack me. You know it can't be good. Pegasus was also the same way. But with Pegasus, he was like, oh no. You fell into my trap card. Oh man, I love camp. Those type of villains wheeled and webbed you into this very wave of terror. It was just wonderful. And for a person that loves really campy, silly, evil villains with just a little bit back history, which I will admit, Bakura's back history in the actual show, which I don't want to spoil, so watch it yourself, was a great motivational way to do a villain. Since he became the main villain of the whole thing, it just became much more of that icing on the cake. And both of them have my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh monsters. Pegasus has my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh monster of the Thousand Eyes Restrict. Again, it's a very odd monster, a very different, unique, scary monster. And it was very menacing without using the large attack points. Also, I love tunes. Tune monsters are best, and I don't care what anyone says. Everyone in the world needs to play a tune deck without a certain person that likes to banish Toon World. You know who I'm talking about out there. I'm gonna come for you, so you better not sleep, because I will come for you. Because Toon World should not be messed with that way. Back to the point. Toon World is just a very fun deck, and it's not like I'm dark and evil and brooding. Just fun to play with. Now, Bakura, on the other hand, has the Dark Ruler Hades. And when I played the card game, which we'll get to that comment in a few seconds, that monster was introduced. And it was, again, very devastating. And what I like about Fiends is their kamikaze nature. It's like, why are you hurting yourself? To get at you. And that's what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Different than Magic in certain ways. Again, both games are beautiful games. Both have their different uses. Magic uses an actual realistic land management system, which would make sense in the aspect of if you're building an army. Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is more about sacrificial magic battles. Like you have to actually take bits of your life and yourself out there to win your battles. Anyone who uses solemn judgment and then has someone to solemn judgment your solemn judgment knows exactly what I'm talking about. And Bakura was also the first person that introduced me my favorite method of winning in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because remember, in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's 3 ways to win. 1, by a special card effect, aka cards like Exodia. 2, by making the life points go down to 0. And 3, the classiest of ways to win. Make sure they have no cards, and if they cannot draw, they lose. And when he fought Yugi for the last time and used a very zombie strategy like that, it was so cool. Because again, the cards were a reflection of the people that they fought against. And Bakura was a very not, I'm just going to pound you villain. So it took a lot of the powers of friendship to beat him, which made the friendship even more. We do make fun of those speeches, but I know that's the reason why we go back to it. And because of all this, we bought the card game. And the reason why is because of that speech, and unlike the other card games, it has a face, it has a voice, it has an aesthetic. That aesthetic is what made it work. Now, there are people out there that like the card game without knowing the show. This is true. However, without the show, the card game would not be the success that it is. And I spoke with one of my comrades about it, and it's true. Just think about an announcer or voice or person playing Magic compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Has that. And it does make me want to see if Magic the Gathering could have a good anime, because I hear there's enough mechanics and lore that it would be very interesting and I would fund that right away. But like I said, for now, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! Has that. So they have weird people like me making the voices and the comments and going, oh, or like, I took your life points. I don't care. And people are like, hey, this seems fun. And I will go, yes, this is fun. Some of my happiest memories are of me playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In public. Sometimes in the middle of a sidewalk. One day we'll talk about that, because we brought a crowd that day because we had to do the voices and people were applauding. I think memories can defend ourselves to make us not feel embarrassed. So those memories were still very wonderful. Another set of memories that I can remember that are very important to me is when I used to live with certain roommates. People will come over to where I live and we would play Yu-Gi-Oh! They will come around maybe around 10 p.m., 9 p.m., sometimes 8, and we will play Yu-Gi-Oh! Until the sun rises. They were literally days we would play Yu-Gi-Oh! And we would look outside and go, where the hell did the sun come from? And we would all laugh. So even though the show brought us into Yu-Gi-Oh!, it was the mechanics and the friendships that we would have is what kept us playing Yu-Gi-Oh! There is a saying with Yu-Gi-Oh! It will always call you back. I can even remember another fan saying, I was there at the birth of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'll be there at the death of Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is true. These little memories of us playing with our Dark Magicians, Blue Eyes White Dragons, Relinquishes, and other nice Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters, which are not powerful per se, but are sort of a little representation of who we are and maybe who we want to be. That's what makes me sad about Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments. Now, I assume all collectible card games have this problem, but I'm talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because that's what I'm linked with. I never liked going to tournaments per se, because people always played just the meta and only the meta. So they didn't have the connection to the strategy. Now, the only time I remember being happy at a tournament was when I finally finished my dream deck, my final strategy. And I went in there, didn't go number 1, didn't go number 2. I think I was around 3 or 4. Because sometimes the luck of the draw really changes everything. But it made me happy because it was an anti-meta strategy, and it was a strategy about slowing down, which is a big no-no in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yet, people say that deck would never hold its own. And guess what? It held. It held real well. So much that people didn't want to face it. Because it was a deck that slowed down, made you think, and people were very impulsive. So they made horrible, horrible moves trying to beat it, not realizing. And then I had some other people go, actually, that's kind of cool. How do you do it? And then we would talk and communicate. And I think I had some little kids at the time making that deck. I was like the big hero out there. Sadly, a lot of the cards in that deck are banned. Thanks, Konami. So I can never go back to those glory days, but having those memories there were wonderful. And one day when I have enough energy to do more YouTube shows, I'm going to take that deck out and play it just so I can have fun and make some people really angry. And maybe make people realize that collectible card games are technically a two-part game. The one that, yes, you duel and you play in those duels to show whose strategy is best, but people forget about the first part of the game, the most crucial part of the game. It is the formation of that strategy. It is the communication of that strategy with your friends. It is the trading that is what makes it all work. And without that first part, the game feels shallow and empty. Remember, just like the show, you as a person that plays the game needs to go out and learn some stuff to grow as a duelist and maybe as a human being, like the characters in the show. That's an interesting mechanic I never thought of. But sadly, with the blitz strategies and the meta, we're kind of losing that. And no, that's not right. It kind of ruins the fun of the game because it's always the serious, dark nature of the game. And you know, now I think about it, another reason why Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still popular is because the help of one little man, Little Karibo. He reminds us how fun that world can be and how fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, no matter how silly the show and the game can be. Because yes, it can be silly, and Little Karibo reminds us of this. And the best part about his humor when it comes to that show, it's not attacking it in an assaultive manner. It's just saying, this is something I like, and I can admit its faults, but because of those faults, we enjoy it, and it's funny. And my opinion is during the time when Yu-Gi-Oh! Was slowly dying out, and the meta was kicking in, he came in and made it fun again. I can still remember high school kids, or even some junior high school kids, playing the card game and quoting the silly lines from a little abridged show, which brings them into the actual show, which brings them back to the card game. And this card game has become such an important part of our lives. It's going to be wonderful that when we grow older, I mean much older, and we can show our kids this game, we can play together and share special memories which help form friendships beyond time. But sadly, sometimes those friendships are broken because of someone likes to banish a certain card. You know who you are. I'm now coming for you. But for now, let's remember how wonderful it is to be able to play a game like this. And we live in a day and age that we have so many tools that no matter how sad the world can get sometimes, we can just summon a Karibo. This is No One, signing out.